Hey, evening everyone. Welcome back to another track feedback live stream. With me, Human Synthetics, I hope you're well. I thought I'd intro us with my next release, or one of my next tracks, being released on Dream Schemes Records, or Dream Schemes Audio, coming out on 4th of April, along with another track, Leisure Centre. Seeing as it's going to be listening to your music this evening, I thought I'd just play a new one of mine. I say it's a new one, but I think last time I worked on this on stream was about 3 years ago, maybe 2 years ago. Hey Aaron, how are we doing? Yeah, so this one is called New Age Tape here. Yo, Ted, enjoyed your Instagram reel. So yeah, track feedback tonight. I've got 10 tunes from producers in the community to listen to and offer some feedback, some constructive feedback, some useful feedback, and I'm sure the chat will offer theirs too. So I did have like a visualizer for a time when I was doing this, but I think it was just overcomplicating things, and really the most important thing is just being able to see who we're listening to and what the track's called, and getting an idea of what the producer is trying to achieve with the music. So if you do want me to listen to tunes, I might have space for a couple more this evening, and all the links to all that stuff are in the video description on YouTube, so yeah, maybe room for a couple more. But I've got 10 tunes to get through, so, and usually I'll run out of time or run out of steam by the end, but we'll see how we get on. Distant Lands, Future World Machines, hey, got a couple of tunes from you both. I think we'll jump to it in a second. I was watching an old stream back recently, one of my old live streams, and I faff at the beginning a lot more than I used to. Like, back when I was first doing these, I kind of just got straight to the action, and yeah, sometimes there's something to be said for getting straight to it. But I do like people to kind of have time to log on and everything, particularly if they get a notification. I'll just give a quick shout out to my patrons and then we'll get moving, yeah? I don't have any new names to announce this evening, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, thanks to all my supporters on Patreon. If you're interested in that stuff, all the links are everywhere you're watching this, so have a look. Thanks to all my supporters. Ikapelic. Oh, Aaron, that's cool. I think when I first started doing this, well, my intention has always been to like just have like a wealth of stuff for people to dive into when they find my channel, and to be able to like watch the process of something being made in real time. And there's, you know, I always wanted to achieve like starting a tune, working on it in real time, you know, in front of people, just as I would do it, or as close as I would do it in private, you know, and documenting the whole process for producers, you know, to have as a resource. so they can watch back through the whole process and just see how I've done it. And really, I don't consider myself anything special as a producer, just average, like an average person like everyone else. There's no, I don't use any crazy gear or anything like that. I believe there's kind of no, everyone can do it, and everyone can finish music, and everyone can release music. So that's really great to hear that. Appreciate it. Hey, Flamey. But yeah, it's all about documenting the process, really, because I think there's so much good stuff on YouTube for people making music, but a lot of the information is as a result of kind of a lot of work behind the scenes, and sometimes it's useful to see when things didn't work, or like how they solved problems they encountered and stuff in real time with writing music. So talking of writing music, let's jump over to the first tune. It'll take me a while. I'll just have to get levels set and stuff, because I know sometimes things are set a bit differently level wise between tunes. So this first one is called Heartbreak by Dramatic. Pretty good name, isn't it? We just do a fade out on here. There we go. Great. Okay. Yeah, any tracks that are like available to listen to on SoundCloud are in the a playlist that I've got on my SoundCloud called just Track Feedback, I think. Human Synthetics Track Feedback. So yeah, if you want to check out all of the other stuff that's been shared in the past, you can do so there. I think I am just /Human Synthetics on SoundCloud. So yeah, go and check it out. But yeah, this is Dramatic Heartbreak. So we'll give it a listen and I'll just talk about it. What works, or I do have some comments from the producers actually in the Google form that you can use to submit tunes. So we'll read this first. So this, Dramatic Heartbreak, and Dramatic says, I'm not sure about the arrangement, not sure if it seems a bit random in places. Also could do with a bit more movement in the intro, but not sure how to achieve it. So that's what we're going to be listening for specifically, along with just like general thoughts on the music. And I mean, considering it's already had like 1,200 plays and 59 likes, so it's probably, if that isn't testament to it being decent, then I don't know what is really. But let's give it a listen. Here we go. Let's just rewind that. Yeah, very, very nice. So what have I got to say on that? I mean, that sounds sick to me. I mean, like, I don't like, I was just thinking this sounds much more decent than anything I've kind of worked on recently. Some good, yeah, like comments in the chat about the bass sounds and stuff like that. And this sounds to me like very much like a kind of minimal, kind of bass heavy modern D&B roller. And I can imagine this like going down really well, just kind of placed in a set at like a kind of a D&B night, the kind of thing that I might play at actually. And I know a lot of people who would play this, or a lot of DJs who would play this type of thing. Yeah, really enjoyed like all the kind of bass was keeping my ears interested throughout the tune. I really like the switch up for the second drop. Yeah, and as Future World Machine says, nicely done. Yeah, they were all really nicely executed. None of them were like sticking out too much, but there was enough kind of interest coming from them throughout. And just kind of like the real difference in texture and timbre kind of driving the track forward, and the contrast between sounds. I liked it when it stepped up with the 16th notes and the hats as well. Really nice kind of D&B trick to implement if you're writing music like this. You know, just like stick a nice 16th note rhythm in at some point, and it kind of really compels the movement on. Like the kind of vocal element that was happening. Drums sounded really good, low end sounded really good, mix sounded really good. There was some nice space in the mix and stuff. It sounded airy and not crammed full of stuff. So yeah, masterfully executed in that respect. As for what Dramatic says about the I've got the comment here about movement in the intro, but not sure how to achieve it. So yeah, I mean, for me, I thought there was enough kind of like tension building in the intro with the elements coming in. Sometimes, you know, movement. Sometimes there's probably enough in the intro. And really it is a kind of about paring it back even further than it is at the moment, without kind of just losing everything and losing the momentum, because there are a lot of elements in from the start, like the hats, and then some little bass squawks and stuff like that. Like that sound. And I imagine you could probably pull out that bass, that kind of low end, the low mid bass line that's kind of throbbing there. You could pull that out and maybe bring that in a bit later and the pad's really nice here. Because I feel there's a lot of tension just in that looped chord that's happening. Because that thing works really well in tunes like this, where you've got like a sampled chord or a sampled pad or something that's kind of looping, and you can hear it looping. And I really like it when everything strips back to something like that. You know, just the pad. I mean, another thing that I tend to try and avoid is like having some sort of riser sound. You know, like I try to, if you hear the kind of same thing a lot in music, like, I don't know, risers and stuff like that, they do work for a reason, but also like I think it's really clever when producers kind of subvert the form with them somehow. And you know, there's many ways that you can give the feel of a riser, rather than just sticking some kind of sound that goes up in pitch or increases in noise or something, which is essentially what you're doing. You know, you're like heightening the drama by just like increasing pitch or increasing stereo, like harmonic information. You know, almost like overwhelming the ear that something is happening, something's going to happen. And I think there are lots of ways you can do that, by stripping things back or by just kind of introducing a new sound or something that happens just once. But for me, it sounds like there's kind of enough movement in there already. I'd be tempted to lift that pad up a bit, I'd be tempted to, and even maybe if there's any kind of filtering on it, to maybe open it up a bit more. I think that could really add some nice movement. In fact, that would be something that I'd love to hear across the tune, would be like some more maybe pad stuff occasionally, or something that isn't just the bass noises, to kind of, just maybe add a bit more drama at points, because the bass and like the drums and the bass are working really, really well. Or something that was like maybe more textural and dubby, kind of that was unfolding at an irregular interval, would be a really nice trick. Used sparingly, because I think it sounds pretty much there. I guess also maybe the ending as well is quite abrupt. It'd be nice to kind of have something that heralded the ending happening, or they were stripping the tune down again at the 3-minute mark, or doing something to kind of signify, because if you were listening to this and you couldn't see the waveform, then you might just be, oh, it's finished. Something to let people know it's about to finish. But yeah, sick. So Hey, Sparking Up Tricks. Derek, are you dramatic? Derek Robinson. Yeah, Capellic. This would be a great tune to have. This is the kind of thing I listen to when I'm doing like long car journeys and stuff. I just put on like the D&B rollers or some sort of D&B playlist, or really good to drive to. Okay, thank you. I don't think Dramatic is in the chat. I have played a Dramatic release or a tune before. I'm pretty sure of it in like an older Track Feedback Livestream, but this was really sick. Hey, Prince. Okay. J3476 on Twitch. Let me get a link. I've probably got enough. Like, Derek. Yeah, thank you, Anonym. Remember, I've got your tune lined up here. I'm just going to paste the submission link. I might not have it. I probably will run out of time because, before I do these streams, I'm like, God, I hope I have enough like decent stuff to say to people that it just doesn't sound like nonsense. And then as soon as I start listening to music and talking about it, it's I just can't stop really. Okay, so that was Heartbreak by Dramatic. Also, I guess the title for that one, it's suggesting it's quite an emotive title, isn't it? And I wonder, I think more could be done to sell the title in the tune a little bit. So maybe definitely something for next time, because as a piece of music it totally works, and like if it's done and out there, then all the better. Props to Dramatic. All right, so this next one's from, I'm gonna have to look at my spreadsheet for this. This is Lego Island DJ, who has been throwing in some really varied music over the past few Track Feedback live streams. So I'm excited to hear what this one's going to be like. I think it's just called Whip, but 0119 Jungle 17. This was submitted a while back, I think, like back in January when I did the last one, but I didn't get around to playing it. Let's give it a listen. Yeah, nice. Very good. That was Lego Island DJ with 0119 Jungle 1726. Work in progress. This was back in January that I got this, and no notes or anything from Lego Island DJ. So yeah, what did we think of that one? I think, having heard a variety of Lego Island DJs tracks before, they're quite varied. It's a varied output, and we were chatting on Discord about like Silent Hill 2 and Silent Hill soundtracks and Safe Room Core and Dark Ambient, stuff like that, and being fans of like the music from Silent Hill. And well, this has got like it's got echoes of that vibe, and I'm pretty sure from other tunes from memory they were kind of similarly spooky, or they had that kind of like sense of dread. So yeah, I think that was really good. I really like the the tension was building from the get go, and I like I think it was the Funky Mule, Ike Turner break in the intro, and then like the amens were suitably true to style. I really like that kind of bass pattern that was going on with the amens. Really sick. Like, and given the time that was delivered over, another short one, only 3 minutes 20. Like, I mean, it sounds to me like, I don't know what I could say about this that would be useful to Lego Island DJ, other than just keep writing more tunes, because quite an inventive, original like angle to this. I like the kind of crusty, almost like punk aesthetic to the sound, kind of like OG ragga jungle like sound to it. So yeah, big tune. I guess like it might be like, sometimes when I hear like stuff like this, I think, I'd love to have a go at like mix in this, because I reckon you could like make it hit a bit harder with a mix down. But it suits the vibe. The sound, the overall sound and production like suits the vibe of it. So yeah, another good one from Lego Island DJ. Okay, so I'm just gonna mark off my spreadsheet what I've listened to. Yeah, two big tunes already. Okay, I will leave that for now. We've got Distant Lands next. So this one is Oceans of Night, and I think I've got the right version here, because there were 2 links, or there were 2 entries. Because this one was done back in January, so I think you put it forward again. That's because I didn't get a chance to play it. Okay. Going for a vibey, spacey feel on this one. Any thoughts welcome? That was back in January, Distant Lands, and then I didn't get time to listen to it. And you said most recently, Hi Alex was going for a deep vibey feel with this one. Been working on it for a while and ready to let it go now, but any thoughts and feedback appreciated. So hopefully I'm listening to the correct version. But yeah. Let me know if not. Oceans of Night, Distant Lands. Yo, Ned. Yeah, very nice. That was Oceans of Night, Distant Lands. A lot of love for that in the chat. Yeah, I thought that was like really good, and I think that is definitely, that's delivering on that kind of spacey. What did you say? You spacey, vibey feel. Going for a deep, vibey feel with this one. Been working on it for a while. I'm ready to let it go. So, love the title, and I think like the music really sells the kind of vision of what that suggests. Oceans of Night. It's quite an evocative image and perfect for like a kind of ambient jungle vibe. Definitely giving me like, you know, good looking flavors of all the producers on there, on that label. And I think like I really love the atmosphere throughout, like the pads and the textures and the arps that were coming in. I like the kind of, there was a slightly strange or not, I don't want to use the word weird, but like an arp that kind of caught my ear. I think it comes in about here. Really like these switch ups. This slightly suggesting a different key to what it started in. So I thought that was a really nice, kind of a nice harmonic trick to kind of switch the listener's attention. I thought the drum edits throughout were really good, actually, and like particularly with the amens and with the breaks from the get go. Really, it sounds like a blend of. Like Soul Pride, yeah, I think. Loved all the Amen edits. They were interesting without being overbearing, and the track never really lost the groove because of it. So sometimes, you know, it can be easy to go overboard with Amen edits particularly, or any kind of like drum edit for this type of tune, when really it's all about like kind of the atmosphere, like a sea of sound, an ocean of sound, and kind of immersing your listener in an environment almost, or you know, kind of a time and space suspended out of our own. So I thought that was really well achieved. Really like the intro, kind of bringing us into things, and the breakdown moments as well, and the switch ups and the kind of changes really delivered on the breakdowns. I thought like I'd love to hear maybe you know, if you're at that point where you're letting it go, or you're happy to kind of call it done. I think that's it's a great way to like phrase kind of letting go of a tune almost, or like I've done everything I can with the ability that I have now on this piece of music, and I'm happy to move on to the next thing, and put this close or turn the page on this diary entry or chapter, if you like. So all of these suggestions really aren't necessarily things that have to be, you know, it's like it's to be taken forward to the next idea. And I'm not just talking about this distant lands track specifically, but all the stuff that's on, you know, that people share for feedback. So yeah, but I think like one thing I'd love to hear, or one thing for next time, is to have a bit more like of a kick, I suppose, a kick drum, or like, it doesn't have to be a kick drum, but maybe in the break itself. And it could be because of the break that's being used here, because of I've forgotten what it's called now. Yeah, of the Soul Pride break here. No, not here. Because it doesn't, and we've got the tiny break in there as well, but there's not much of like a low end presence to kind of give because that you've got like a sustained sub. I think sometimes like when you've got an 808 bass or something, you're almost giving the impression there is a kick drum with a break that's been repitched. But when you've got a sustained sub, I can find like sometimes breaks don't deliver the like the momentary oof that like that is needed to kind of break up the sub a little bit. So yeah, I think and that can be achieved in many ways, like layering or boosting the break or boosting the low end of the break, or potentially like chopping it up and not like using repitch and adjusting the pitch manually for the break slice by slice, or yeah, just programming drums in on some kind of kit. So yeah, that's probably what I might suggest to kind of give it a bit more impact, musical impact. Because when that bass hits, it's like a kind of a warm envelopment, or it's like a warm wash of sound, really. And you want that to hit the listener. And I think just like having a kick, something that's like above the really low subby stuff, but that's giving it a sense of impact. It would be really great here. So I hope I've described that properly and that you get what I mean, and that's useful. I thought like maybe the middle breakdown was potentially went on a bit long and probably could be a bit more succinct in its delivery. I think like long breakdowns are totally fine, but if the longer they are, I think the more they need to have something different happening, or have something that isn't just like a complete disappearance of the music. It's almost like ushering in a new element or something, or building the tension for the next drop. So and if you don't necessarily have that in mind, then making it shorter is okay, I think. Yeah, and I think that like the atmosphere is totally on point. I think you could maybe up it a little bit with some more like one shots and sparkles, ear candy, something to really kind of hook the listener, so that when it comes back, it's like a real sense of satisfaction at hearing the sound. They're hearing some really like like sparkly or high register sound, some kind of like one shot, or I don't know if there's like any reverse cymbals or that kind of thing. Is just very simple to implement, but can be really powerful, especially combined with some more melodic one shots or vocals or something of that nature. Data pusher, yeah. I think like in giving what like a kick or one shots. I think it really depends what you're after, doesn't it? Like sometimes you can make things really minimal. I think like it's. And if you do want to have something that's like is really minimal and it has like very few elements and is kind of, I think it could be made to evolve a little bit more in terms of like, I don't know, like automation on the instruments and stuff like that, filtering or that kind of thing. Maybe if just something to bring the track to life a bit more, give it a bit more of an organic feel in a way. So I hope that was useful, Distant Lands, and I would say, I appreciate everyone sharing tunes and offering them up for feedback, because it's quite exposing being seen in that way. So, but yeah, another really great one. Flovin on Twitch. I think there is a link in the chat somewhere earlier on if you have a look. I can't promise I'll listen to everything this evening, but I'll do my best. If not, it will be on the next track, Feedback Livestream. But yeah, another really great tune from Distant Lands. I really like that. It's quite cool, the Lord of the Rings sample. That was the first one you submitted. So yeah, really good. I think that one's done. You can tick that off the list, call that one done. Get the next one ready for the next live feedback stream. Okay, so this is Illusionist and Dharm, and this is Lost Souls version 1. Let's just close that. See if we've got any notes on this from Illusionist. No notes on this one. Okay, we'll just give it a listen. Yeah, Lost Souls. Yeah, very nice. That was Lost Souls by Illusionist. I think it is just Illusionist, even though it's the handle is this. Very cinematic, could be a movie soundtrack. Excellent musicianship. Yeah, I completely agree. Future of Machines. I actually put down cinematic as a point on my notes. Interesting one this, because listening to it, I'm knowing Illusionist's music outside of doing this a little bit. This almost sounds like it could be like a whip, in the sense that it's just like at the moment they want to develop it a bit more. So with that in mind, potentially, and that I'm not kind of barking up the wrong tree, I'll kind of frame the thoughts within that context. So yeah, really great kind of chord movements. It was giving me reminding me of like Club to Death, but I can't remember the name of the artist, and who did that from, it was in The Matrix, it was used in The Matrix, Club to Death. Ooh, Rob D. Yeah. Like, but with that kind of it's like a diminished chord within like a minor, like a dominant seventh used in a kind of minor key. Yeah, I'm glad someone else picked on that, because that's a brilliant tune. That I think I had that in the car the other day. Yeah, Rob D, Club to Death, and it was giving me that flavour, but with the chord progression, it's almost a bit like the chord progression that's in it's used all the time in stuff, but Shape of My Heart by Sting is another one. It's got that kind of similar chord progression. You hear it a lot in kind of like maybe flamenco stuff as well. But I really like that. It's got like a very emotive, heavy, sad, but kind of like powerful, impactful harmonic movement to it. Yeah, really, really, really great use of that. Good instrumentation. I thought like everything was all the sounds working really well together. They're really well chosen and placed in their choice. I really love that vocal texture that kind of comes in. That just lifts it. I think whenever you have a human element like that in a tune, there's a real like primal sense of that is someone. Like it can be overused, obviously, and it doesn't always give that effect. But like when used, I think that's what we latch onto as listeners, as humans, engaging with it, is that we hear kind of we recognise it as human, and even if like we override it with our kind of conscious intellect, we still like pick up on that intuitively or instinctively. So I really like that. I thought it's down as drum and bass. Don't think it is drum and bass. Maybe that's what Illusionist wants to do with it. I can imagine that was just tagged on there when they're uploading it. But I think follow the vibe that it's on at the moment with that kind of like the rhythm it's got. It's almost giving me like Mahler vibes, this kind of sound here. I think you could start without the kick, maybe. Like with just the pad. And that. Yeah, that's really cool. And then bring the kick in for like when we've got some... Yeah, but I think it would kind of benefit from like maybe I'm just kind of trying to form my thoughts here, or form my words. Like, it would benefit from, I think you could really amp up that, like a kind of breakdown of some sort, and yeah, I think that would be explored where the tune is ending at the moment, or maybe this is it, just finished. But it is version 1, so I'm presuming that I haven't got any other comments apart from that. I'm presuming that it's going to be worked on. So yeah, I'd keep that rhythm too, because it's like it's definitely working with everything else that's going on. I think maybe the bass is like wavering a little bit up throughout, and that's probably just like the patch, and it might be intentional. But I think you could keep it more solid. I think it could be more solid and sustained. And maybe there could be some, if it's got like, if it's almost like a Moog analog bass or something of that nature, you could kind of like filter it in and out and record that. I think the chord progression is really good. There are a couple of moments where it maybe goes a bit awry with stuff, and like maybe that's just like the choice of notes. So I think it... Yeah, like at points like that, it sounds like maybe just checking the elements there to, or the notes, particularly the pitches, the actual MIDI notes or whatever is triggering it, just to ensure that change is smooth, because it sounds like there might be just a couple of notes that are not as strong as they could be, the tone that they're on, like just making sure they're hitting the chord or they're in the chord that you want them to be in. But I think it's quite an ambitious chord progression in that sense. It's like moving around a lot in and working, and totally working, but there's just a few points where maybe I'd look to tighten those up to just make sure everything's delivering on the emotional impact. But yeah, really great. And that is like, I wasn't expecting that from Illusionist. I thought we might hear that like a D&B or some kind of atmospheric tune. So love that, full of potential. I'd explore a few more additional elements to really heighten the drama and emotion, like maybe a new lead line, even copying that Rob D, like the piano solo that comes in. Not doing that, but like having something like that in mind, like some new thread that is introduced. Data pusher, yeah, me too. I think like overall that's it, isn't it? I think the idea, the sound world concept is there. It's just a few points where it could be, tighten those chords up, make sure everything's moving in sync. Cheers, Daniel. All right, okay, yeah, really, really good. Where am I up to now? Hope we're making progress. Okay, let's move on. RJ McCready, The Precise Nature of Catastrophe. So if you know RJ McCready's stuff, he's got a penchant for titles like this. So let's put this in the track feedback playlist, so you can check it out there on my SoundCloud /Human Synthetics. Let's go. RJ McCready. Yeah, pretty masterful. So I think we've followed RJ McCready. I think RJ McCready has submitted tunes almost for every feedback stream, maybe so far. And I think if you have watched these consistently, or just take my word for it, that like they've all been very different, and yet like they sound like RJ McCready. RJ McCready is the lead character from John Carpenter's The Thing, and it made me want to watch The Thing, so I bought it from Amazon recently. So thanks for that, RJ McCready. I enjoyed it very much again, having not seen it for like 10 years or something. Anyway, so there's something in that, like, about having a voice, and definitely something that something everyone should try to cultivate, is that, and not necessarily like having to master various genres or having to explore any more genres than you want to, but like just what is your sound? What makes your music yours? And I think that's something to constantly keep at the front of your mind when you're doing, or almost forget in a way, and just like make music as you want to hear it. But I think that's something RJ McCready does, and it can be heard throughout their material and the things that we've heard on Trap Feedback Livestream. So I think that's the highest thing you can look to achieve if you're making tunes, that people can hear it and recognise you in it. What more could you want, really? It was giving me like M83 vibes, even like M83 does Future Garage. I really like the cinematic quality to it, and it definitely had that. Feel like that was really delivering impact, like across the tune, in the low end, the drop. Intro really worked, breakdown really worked. That funky rhythm that comes in after the breakdown is so compelling. That one. Love the vocal textures, they're really cool, really selling the Future Garage vibe. Thought it delivered real emotional impact across the tune. Now, yeah, as to the length of it, I mean, it sounds fine to me. It kind of works at 2 minutes 54. I think if you were going to expand it out a bit, then you've already got like quite a significant new thing coming in after that first drop. So there are many ways that you could do something like this, like if you wanted to lengthen a piece of music with what you've already got, which is just kind of taking the elements and the layout and the structure as it is, and like almost remixing it or rearranging it. So it's quite dense in a good way. It's quite richly populated with material throughout both sections. So if you wanted to extend them, you could probably just drop some stuff out of it. And that would easily make it another like minute longer, which is probably fine. So that would be a very quick fix to that if you were going to do something like that. And that's something that me and Ned Rush spoke about when we did a live Trap Feedback live stream together. And I think he said about almost remixing your own tune within the tune. And that's kind of a good, very not simple, but that's a really simple way of describing it, a really understandable way of describing it, taking what you've got, almost like remixing it somehow within the tune. And that can be done within the sections, at the end, like as another section, in between the sections. That would be my solution to that problem. If it's not long enough, just lengthen some of the bits. Yeah, Future World Machines. Keep doing what you're doing, RJ. Yeah, for real. Very, very good. Okay, let's move on. Anonym. Derek, are you still in the chat? Let's go for it. It's suited up. I'll just see if there's we got any notes on this one. Mix feedback. Already made some changes. Okay, I've submitted this one already and made some changes based on recommendations from you in the chat. Looking for mix feedback and possibly some title recommendations. I think we can do that. Yeah, we do some title recommendations. Yes, very nice. I can totally hear the improvement as well, Derek, and like the things you've changed. So yeah, and it's good you're on, because there's like, I guess I have some questions as well, specifically if it's about the mix. Like I'll talk to the music first. Talk about music. So yeah, I love that fade in. That's like compositionally, the track is like totally working for me. I really like the last drop as well. That's really cool with that like cymbal sound. Yeah, a great use of like taking things down to very little. I think that totally delivered because of it. I think that was a really, really great move. Love the like, well, just like the overall that kind of haunting, persistent vocal pad thing that's going on throughout, and that's like it's like really ethereal, otherworldly, quite euphoric. You know, it's giving like, it's like a real quite a euphoric track, this one. I thought there's some really nice like sounds going around the stereo field as well before, like, and as the fade in was happening and stuff, all these like whooshes and things. I did hear the odd Humans Effect sound, but that's what they're there for. So yeah, I think like totally working musically. So you mentioned the mix specifically, and like, so how do you feel about the mix of it, is what I guess I would ask at this point. And I know you got to type this in, but like maybe just like in a few words, how you feeling about the mix of this? Have you like tested it on have you listened to it a lot? When did you bounce this version? I guess it was maybe a couple of days ago or something. But yeah, I suppose like I think like it's like loud enough, and you could totally hear the bass. It's got good low end. The drums are punchy. The pads are prominent. You can hear everything going on. To my ears, I think it's maybe sounds a bit pushed at points, and I'm into, I can only offer like feedback based on like hit from the tune, and without seeing the session or like knowing specifically everything that's taken place, it can be sometimes a bit of a stab in the dark. But listening to it now on my phone speaker just now, I'm pretty happy with it. Yeah, I think like big like, and really that is the most important thing. If you're like, if the mix is working to you and you can hear an improvement from where you were at a few months ago, that's the most important thing. And yeah, I'm always just kind of keen to. It can be difficult to offer like mixed feedback, as I say, without seeing what a producer's done and stuff like that. And it depends what sound you're after as well. But I guess like the in the pads, they maybe sound a bit overcut in the low end at points, and maybe a bit mid-rangey. But this would be if I was looking to offer tips to maybe improve it in the future. But like impact wise, low end wise, none of that is wimping out. Yeah, the mix is definitely an artistic choice, but it certainly sounds way better than it did back in January. Yeah, I say this as well, Derek, because it's happened. Like, this is all from experience. I remember having this tune, right? I think it was called, I can't remember what it was called, but it was like a techno tune, and I was probably in my like John Hopkins era of wanting to make tunes like John Hopkins. Great producer, love his music still, but and he was like probably the sole reason that I started making electronic music really properly or taking it seriously, was because of his album Immunity. But anyway, everything was sounding a bit like John Hopkins, and I wanted to make that kind of really organic techno. And there was one tune in particular where I changed it a lot and stuff, and I just ended up like completely removing a lot of like the like emotional impact from like the mids and the low mids, because I was just scooping it too much, and it ended up just sounding hollow. And that can sometimes, when you got these like rich pad textures, you want to hear, you don't want to cut them too much, because you do lose a bit of like the depth and dimension of the pad. And you can hear it almost, you can hear it in the tune, you can hear that it's been cut, and like I think a way around that is to side chain them, or they're probably not impacting like the low end as much as they might be, or might be perceived to be. So yeah, with pads it can be tricky to balance them against stuff, especially where you got a tune where the pads are quite front and center throughout. Yeah, but that's all stuff for next time, because it sounds like a banger to me, and I think you can safely put that one out and know that you've made a sick track, and really appreciate the feedback from last time being useful. So, and well done to the chat as well for that. Love all the sparkles though, and the one shots. Like musically, everything's in there in a good way. Yeah, nice one. My pleasure. Thank you to everyone. Thank you, Derek. Thank you to everyone else for submitting tunes as well. It is, I don't know if I would have done it if I was, I don't know if I would do it. If it was the other way around, I'd be too scared, I think, potentially. Okay, Future World Machines, Red Sector, Whip. Probably got some. Got this right. I'm happy with the main elements, but feel the arrangement could use some work. It lacks flow, especially the breaks. Overall, it needs something to glue everything together. Question mark, question mark. Yeah, I should say, any feedback is all just my opinion, and the main thing is that producers we're all like making tunes, making progress, sharing confidence boosting and stuff, and helping each other up the ladder along the journey, really, of this all, because yeah, that's what this is. Right, Red Sector, Whip. Overall, it needs something to glue everything together. break. That. Yeah, interesting one. Like in a great, like I'm just my mind is thinking about things to suggest to speak to what you've said about overall it needs gluing everything together. No, I really love the that's totally my kind of chord progression and totally my kind of choice of sounds. I really love the sine plucks. I really love the call and response between what's happening and the vocal texture, just providing that completely different quality texture to like melodic proceedings, and so like the sound world, to use that term, or like all the sounds that are in it, I agree you should be happy with the main elements. I think there's enough potential in there in those to like compel everything forward. It almost sounds to me like everything is in there. You just maybe need to drop some stuff out at points, because I really love that. This is so working. This the break, this bit, that's great. Whist has got a good point. Some really nice sounds in here. Like the tune, found myself wanting the bass to switch up to a new pattern is the only thing I would say. And I think that would be a great way maybe to move things forward. What else did I say? So yeah, I think like you don't need, nothing else needs to happen with the chord progression. It's really nice and simple. The arp line and the sounds that are happening, like nothing else needs to happen with those in a way, because I think they're really, really working. It's almost like, where like something to glue it all together. I mean, it almost needs like to have more of a drop. Like you can almost drop out to those chords, maybe with like the vocal sample, and then it could just drop to like the bass and that pattern that's just. I mean, it kind of does that already, but I kind of like it. I mean, I think you could definitely work with that. I'm really into that. That something like really. It's funny what the ear latches onto with like these patterns, because sometimes it could be like the most simple thing or something that you just you keep wanting to hear coming back. And I guess something to experiment with would be bass switch ups, different bass patterns, different, like, because I think you don't want too much, but like a little bit of change here and there could probably compel it along. I mean, overall, something to glue it all together. I think for me it kind of has that. It's that like some dubby stuff would be so cool in this too. It's giving me like a real dub flavor with those chords. Just like a typical dub chord progression. Very like, it definitely draws you in though. Like, hey, Endel. I think the yeah, and like maybe some sort of bass switch up, maybe with choice of sounds, or changing the notes. You know, like the tune. Is it Nasty Habits? I always get it wrong. Which one it is? Shadow Boxing. Nasty Habits. But that tune is like the same bass line the whole way through, and then it goes up like one note for the final drop, and it's just like so effective. I know that's probably not a good example of something of a comparison tune here, but like even if it was like, you know, you could introduce some like doo doo doo, like falling bass line notes and stuff, doo 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 doo, like some little kind of rhythmic intricacies. I mean, you could bring in another break. I think whenever like you're making tunes, there's a whole tick list of things that might work with, like, okay, I could do like a call and response break section or something like that, like drum funk kind of thing. I could do some different bass sounds. I could switch up the bass melody or the bass line that's already there. I could add some different notes into it. I could bring in a new sound. I almost think for like the second drop, as you got it at the moment. Like, you can almost just that like the breath of the vocal, just like some delayed thing coming over for the second drop. But I like its simplicity, and I think all of the elements in there you could make them, you could use what you've already got, and it would sound more cohesive because of it. I think sometimes, you know, it's always easy to chop more things in, and actually, like maybe a few more sounds, a couple more sounds, but I don't know. I'm not hearing that it's not cohesive in a way, and maybe if I was thinking what to suggest if that's still something that's bothering you, you know, because it's not necessarily about what I think. It's about how you feel about it, isn't it? It's about how any given, you know, other people can say what they like about your music, but ultimately, if you're still like, yeah, but I don't feel that way. So I don't know if any of that rambling was useful, Future World Machines, but I'd definitely try stripping things out a little bit more and dubbing it out at sections. And I think you probably know what I mean when I use the term dubbing it out. But it's definitely lending to that style of thing, that approach. It's almost like it kind of sounds to me what you could see on a Sully Instagram clip, if some of the elements are a bit more stripped down, a drop working really effectively like that. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. I hope that was helpful. I think that's possibly my favourite idea you've submitted so far as well. It's got a real nice clarity to it. 420 on Twitch. I've had to I've shut the submissions for this time round, but next time, probably in a couple of months. I think I've probably got more than I can get through now, but thanks for asking. Sorry. Next time. I'd listen to them. I'd carry on listening all night, but like my voice goes. That's what happens. Okay. Teedle, you there? Corridors of Time. Yeah, I hope that was useful, Future of Machines. I love the kind of vibrato pad. Really, really kind of selling it for me. I guess another thing is always just like automation on those things that are happening can be really powerful, can add a sense of like cohesion and movement across a tune. With quite simple things going on, and to like a listener it can sound like, oh, it's like got really subtle movement, and it's actually just been quite simple to achieve. Okay. So this is from Teedle. Corridors of Time, nice title. I'm not new to production. Oh, like Derek is probably gone now, but he asked about titles. Derek, if you're still there. I'm not new to production, but I've only recently started making attempts at atmospheric D&B. I tend to get to core ideas and bass arrangements down very quickly when they occur, but get stuck trying to flesh out the small details and nuances, pad layers, break layers, backing melodies, variations on the main elements, that sort of thing. This track is a good example. I like the vibe, but can't quite pinpoint what exactly it still needs. When I try and push beyond, I get a feeling of losing the plot. I'm sure that awareness will simply come with experience, but a few pointers in the right direction probably wouldn't hurt. Okay, cool. I think we can help with that. So, yeah, this is Corridors of Time sketch by Teedle. Hey Sundog has not. I'm just gonna refresh this and start again. Loving this though. That's annoying. That, yeah, I seem to remember this was doing it this last time. Just skip to the Mate. I can't be doing with this. It was doing like, I'm just going to download this one. Right, we'll just play it in iTunes. Yeah, Sundog, sorry, I had to close the submissions for now just because I'm not going to be able to get through everything otherwise. So next stream will probably be May or June. Probably June. Diddle. Where's the break from? That is a very nice break. Thanks, Sundog. Defo. This is sick. Very good. Skyper, I definitely do, yeah. As long as it's electronic and like dance, club related, really. But ambient's fine too. Or lo-fi, whatever. That bongo is sick. Wist is totally on the money with that. Future World Machines, that's, yeah. Good point. That break is so compelling. Yeah, it's that like, yeah, very compelling break pattern there. So yeah, I've got lots to say about that. And I think there was a lot of love for that in the chat, Teedle. So what more? I don't really know. What more do you need to show you that it's you've probably got everything as it is supposed to be? I thought that was brilliant, and I could totally see myself like vibing to that in the car, or like on a drive, or after a sesh or something. That would like totally be the thing that I was listening to. I think that was brilliant. Really, really great. I liked like the break drew me in immediately because it was like, it's got a really nice, it's almost quite it's like it's got like a nice texture to it. It's got really nice quality to the break. Like that ringing snare, I'm here all day for that. I love that kind of thing, and it's like snappy but full and tight, and really, really great break. Love the intro with the like with the kind of tiny break hats, or the think break hats, whatever they were. And what else was I digging? The restraint throughout. Like I thought that was, and that the bongo and the like the little was just like Yeah, that was so... that is like really perfect kind of like atmospheric jungle, ambient D&B, whatever phrasing. You know, like the call and response, peekaboo of elements, if you want. Like something happens, something else happens. It's like gestural. If you know, like one thing triggers another, but there's space for both. Future World Machines, that is a very good point for next time. I usually ask for downloads enabled, so I'll make more of a point to press on that. We should definitely just listen in. What I'd love is just like I'd love a simple visualizer, and we can not see the waveform, so we can just like make it a bit more immersive. Usually I run out of time to kind of set everything up on a given day with work and stuff, but so okay, anyway, back to this. I tend to get core ideas and bass arrangements down fairly quickly when they occur, but start trying to flesh out small details and nuances. Yeah, I mean, for me, like where you said Teedle specifically, where something should come in around wherever it was here, I would be so tempted. Like, I don't think it needs anything else, but like a really powerful move, and something that I do all the time is like to bring in just some different texture, or like a very simple additional like sound. I do it in a tune of mine, which I will play just the section. I think it's still on here. I don't know. Yeah. If SoundCloud doesn't glitch out.
I don't see music in words. I see music in colours and shapes and feelings. Music has the capacity to send you into worlds.
Right, so there's a little dot that comes in.
How would you explain that?
That's... Okay, annoyingly dropping out. Just this like sound that like is just new, just like a new texture. It's like really simple. It's just like a bit of noise or something, but that was just all it needed with the pad cut. I think it had a pad coming in too, but like just something that's almost like out of time, like an sometimes like it can be like almost like a weird Foley sound or something, like knocking on a desk or something, but like in almost like falling pebbles or something. I come from mainly a techno ambient background, long time just doing live off the cuff arrangements. That is like, that really speaks for itself, because I think it's got that like feeling of like, of not being, it's got a great flow to it arrangement wise, and the switch up really works. It's being more deliberate with arrangements. Yeah, like just something like really small that's like, I love it in tunes where, you know, like there's such a minimal addition, but it's like so well placed. You know, you could like, to give a visual analogy, like, okay, imagine a street scene. You know, it's like a rainy. I think there's a D&B mix on, like an ambient D&B mix on YouTube that has like an out of focus rainy scene of a street with a traffic light in it that's green, okay? And like, for instance, how would the mood of the picture feel if the traffic light was red? That's a visual analogy of something like this. You know, you're changing something so small, but the impact is quite profound. And I love just trying to, it's almost like, you know, a little spot of paint you place in, really. But for me, like, I would say it's interesting. Another point that I wanted to talk about was like, you said, this track is a good example. I like the vibe, but can't quite pinpoint what exactly it still needs. And I think that's the kind of, then like, it's good to have a bit of a reframe, or I try not to think ever of what something needs rather than what isn't working about the tune. And I probably, like, in my streams, I talk about it in terms of, like, I think this needs that, or I think it needs that. But, like, so you could always add stuff. A piece of music always needs something. And, like, I think knowing when the piece of music is a cohesive piece of music and it's working on its own terms, I think that is when you need to step back as an artist or a producer and be like, you know, this is it. This is all it needs. I know, like, I know it could probably have this or it could have that, but this is how I want it to be left. This is my, you know, like you say, you want to be more intentional. Well, then that's your call in a way as to when you say it's done. And I think, like, with I love the space in this one. It's a great example to talk to something like that, because it's like 8 minutes long, and there isn't a tendency to add stuff in. But to everyone who's heard that tonight, I think we all really enjoyed it. So often at this late stage I have trouble adding those couple pieces of foley that ties up it, but it's definitely something just like, there's another tune of mine called Condor on Spotify. It's quite a long one. It's probably like another good example, but there's just like this weird like whistle that comes in, and for me it was like, that's another example of me doing something like that, where I just add one more sound that's like a bit weird. Yeah, reverse cymbals would be calling that. But I love, for me, that bongo. It was almost following the same pattern, isn't it? Like, of rhythm. Really great. And yeah, try to think from a place of what the problems are and what's not working, rather than what is lacking. Because that isn't necessarily helpful to one's music, because, like I say, you can always add stuff. You can always take stuff away, but like, right, okay. How are we doing? Capellic. I think Capellic will be the last tune, because my voice is probably going a bit. I got you. Critically, I don't think it needs much more. Maybe just some small variation in the transitions to tie it together. Tidal Pleasure. Well, that was really good. That switch up's great as well. I would this would just sit well on like a Planetary Drift or any kind of like atmospheric D&B compilation. The restraint is really great, and like definitely something not to be and that's really hard. Like, it's really hard to not overdo it. It's so easy to overdo it. I do it all the time. I'm always overdoing it. Okay. Capellic, thanks for waiting until last. I'm not sure if you're still on, but this is Spring Breaks. Can I download this one? Yeah, great. Okay, let's do it. Yes, very good. That was Capellic. That was called Spring Breaks. And I do have some notes on this actually that I should have said. I should have mentioned before we listened. Thanks for all the positive feedback in the chat as well about that one. Capellic said, and I think they were on earlier, but no longer. So my name is Kai, and I'm from Germany. I fell in love with D&B in the mid-90s before I played bass in an alternative rock band. Only 25 years later, after my children have grown up, I've finally found time to focus on music again. I still draw inspiration from that old school sound of Paradox, Source Direct, Photech, and the like. But I have to admit that it's more challenging than I initially thought. So true. Perhaps it's not 100% finished, mixing and mastering in a fast-forward mode, but I appreciate some feedback in your live stream. So, is that where it came from, Future World Machines? So, yeah, I think I wrote some stuff down about this. I think that's a really good, really good... totally suggests all those artists and that kind of like old school and drum funk sound, particularly with that opening break, which sounds like Scorpio or something, Scorpio break, and sort of a break that I was like working on recently on stream. But yeah, love the kind of the chords and stuff, the chords and vibes. The scene set from the beginning is quite haunting, with the kind of parallel chord that's obviously a sample chord or something with like the strings. I thought the break work was really good throughout, particularly like the Amen section as well. Really nice switch up. It can be quite hard balancing. If you're going for that kind of sound, it's like hard to balance the switch up sometimes, particularly if you've got like quite a tearing Amen, because a tearing Amen with quite like a weighty kick is quite hard to do. As I've found out, but like if you got like a tough kind of like step in Scorpio break or something like that, or Shack Up was another one that I did recently and was really working. But if you got that kind of tough vibe, then switching it up with an Amen could be quite hard to balance, because you've got like quite a tearing mid range and like energy to it with something a bit more pared down, stripped back, and that's maybe got more kick, more like low end in the kick, and then you've got some quite like mid-rangey prominent sound. Just making everything cohesive can be really, really difficult, but I think that was kind of like dealt with pretty well here. I thought everything was unfolding nicely over time as well. Like the chord progressions were nice and slow, with the kind of like the breaks and the bass happening beneath it. Nice haunting atmospheres, nice switch up, great effects and vibe with like the delays on some of the sounds that were happening throughout. I liked that it was sparse and pared back relatively. I think that, what was I going to say about this? I think like there's a kind of like the section after like the breakdown where it sounds like things go down almost like a tone, or they go down in pitch. I think the idea is like really cool, but maybe it just doesn't quite deliver in reality here. And maybe if you're going to try and do something like that where you're actually adjusting the pitch, which it tends to be that all the music we listen to and enjoy in the vein of like what I guess I make on this YouTube channel a lot, or what we hear a lot of, is that like generally changing key or like changing is something that doesn't happen very often in the kind of thing that we're all into and making. Things tend to stick in the same key and around the same like notes a lot of the time. So I think if you're going to do that kind of thing, it has to be. It can be done, but I think it can't quite be across all the sounds as that was. But like idea wise, that's so much more powerful than like maybe a riser sound, for instance. I think like experimenting with things like that are really what produced. Capellic is still. You're still on. Mixing the break combinations was challenging. Yeah. For real. Yeah, like, tell me about it. I know exactly what that's like, trying to deal with that. Yeah, no, I thought it was really well matched. Yeah, maybe that breakdown idea. If you're going to like drop something down, maybe in pitch, maybe just take one element, and then when everything comes back in, it could be a cool step up. I also thought maybe the bass was a bit low in key. It's because it almost sounds like a bit. I'm not sure what pitch you've got it tuned to at the moment. This is the kind of thing you could probably see in Ableton a bit better. So I could put this in here. But overall, I thought that was like, yeah. I think it's very insightful what you said about it's harder than one thinks. It certainly is. Like, okay, you could probably see it. Let me just cheers, this line. Good stuff from yourself too. Yeah, just here. Where's the bass come in? Yeah, we got it in here. I just looked at. So that I'd say that's probably, we're kind of down at around like 24 hertz, 25 hertz here, and maybe that's just a bit low. You could probably afford to put that up an octave, and it would be totally fine. Ah, Daniel, was this the? You're not annoying. Which one was this? ID? Yeah? I tell you what I might do. I'll probably listen to it, drop you some feedback on Discord. We chat on there, don't we? Yeah? Anyway, sorry, like my ADHD thing of flitting between subjects. It's breakneck sometimes, right? So you see that bass is just definitely a bit too low here, and that's it sounds almost like the sample, where it kind of like you can almost hear the you can hear the sine wave passing almost. Yeah, Daniel, no problem. I'll make a note of it. Glad to help. Yeah, so I think that you could bring the pitch up of that sample, of the bass sample, up an octave, double the hertz, so it'd be around 44 hertz or whatever, 48 hertz. That would be much better. But otherwise, I thought that was like really great effort. And I mean, what else does it need? I don't think it really needs anything else. It's like if you've just come back to it and you're like getting into making tunes again, my advice would be just keep making loads and loads of tunes. Write as much music as you possibly can. If you've got that time back, now your kids are a bit older, try and find a time every day that you can sit down and do music. Maybe it could be in the morning, whenever you like doing that, morning, evening. Maybe it's at weekends or whatever, but definitely find time to sit down and just sketch ideas out, as many as possible. Even if you don't finish many of them, the key is to kind of get practice and build that creative muscle making this stuff. Because it can be tempting to pour everything into one tune and kind of want to solve all of your creative or deliver on all of your creative ambitions in one tune. But really it's something that happens over time, over many tunes and many iterations. So just keep going. And I think you could definitely call this one, like you could close this one off and call it done. Maybe bring that bass up a bit and deal with that post breakdown bit. But that would be my advice for you there. Quantity is quality. I definitely believe in that too. And it's worked for me, for sure. Like, I've probably done, well, you've seen my Trello board before, but I've probably sketched out well over 1,000 pieces of music in the past 3 or 4 years. So I would encourage everyone to kind of do that as well. Write as much music as you possibly can and almost focus on the ideas you're throwing away as a metric rather than what you're finishing. Yeah. Right. You know, it's like all the like most famous like composers, artists, musicians, whatever, they're all writing music every day, all the time, whenever they get the opportunity. And even if you don't finish anything, you get really good at kind of coming up with ideas if you can consistently do it. And I know that, like, if someone asked me to like come up with a tune in a day and submit something in a day, I could do it. I know I could do it. I couldn't say whether I'd like it or not. Like, and that's really not the point, but I could deliver a piece of music in a day if it was needed. It might not be my best work, and I wouldn't, but then it wouldn't be for me in a way. And ultimately that's what I believe as a musician is that, or as a producer, is that you write the music for other people. You get to write the music. Others get to enjoy it. Yeah. So I hope that was useful, Capellic. Definitely, perfectionism is the enemy of creativity, really. Coming from a reformed perfectionist. But yeah, keep writing. Send them in here. Send them here. I'll do another stream in a couple of months, and try and get something done for then, or have something to aim for like that. But find a time every day, half an hour, that you can just sit down and sketch ideas out. Maybe every other day. It's like going to the gym, or not that I'm a gym goer, or doing any kind of like activity like that. If you want to get fit, you've got to run. Wes makes you better at not being precious about one particular idea. Yeah, I'm wasting too much time on a single tune. Yeah, for real. Like, you get used to discarding things and knowing what's working. I think for me, like, the daily practice thing solves every problem, really, musically. You see many different scenarios creatively in your own output, and you can listen back to things that you wrote a couple of years ago and be like, I've no memory of writing that, and I don't know why I discarded it, or I don't know why I worked on it so much. It's quality through quantity, like Daniel says. But yeah, I think on that note, I'm just going to play us out with like my latest tune that's out on 4th of April. And I'm going to say goodbye anyway now. Future World Machines, 100%. I'm not going to... What I'll do next time, I just want a simple visualizer that's like a waveform. No waveform. That's like a waveform visualizer of the music happening, like a sign generator thing, like an oscilloscope. That's what I mean. And then no continuous thing. So I'll have to be. I think it's the main thing is that people often submit links that don't have downloads enabled. So that's if you want to submit music, make sure you got downloads enabled. Yeah, big up everyone. Thanks very much. And if you have submitted music and haven't got round to listening to it, we'll be on the next one. Wist, Lego Island DJ, I'll be in touch. And yeah, like Wist, yours was on there next time. Yeah. All right. Nice one, everyone. Cheers. I will see you next week. Bye.